Hey guys, and welcome to another The Daily Programmer web series. And in this one, we're going to talk about a problem called Jolly Jumper, which is number 311 on the Daily Programmer subreddit. So let's go ahead and break down this problem on the whiteboard. Okay, so for this problem, you're provided with a list of integers, and what you're trying to do is take the sequential difference between each integer. So for instance, if I do the difference between 1 and 4, in fact, I should say the absolute difference. So this will give us 3. And then again, the difference between 4 and 2 will give us a difference of 2. And then the absolute difference of 2 and 3 will give us 1, right? So the goal is, given this list, can you create the same set of integers that lead up to n minus 1? So to kind of break that down, we have n is equal to 4 here, right? We have 4 numbers. So n is equal to 4. And our goal is to create a set which is equal to 1 to n minus 1, which is also, 1, 2, 3 in this case, because n is equal to 4. So in this particular case, it turns out that this is considered a Jolly Jumper list, right? Because we were able to create the 3, we were able to create the 2, and then we're also able to create the 1. So that's the overview of the problem. Now let's try to work it out by hand. Starting off, you know what n is. You know n is equal to the length of the array minus 1. So over here, you just create a set and just let it equal to all the numbers that lead up to n minus 1. So again, 1, 2, 3. And then we can iterate through this list where I is equal to 1 here. And then this is I plus 1. And then stop before you reach this 3. So again, you take I plus 1, which is going to be 4, minus I, which is going to be 1. Take the absolute value of that, which will give us a 3. And then once you have this value, you just go ahead and remove it from the set here. So if it exists in the set, just go ahead and remove it. And then continue on to the next number. So we're increment I by 1. So this is now I plus 1 here. We have 4. Actually, this would be 2. So we have 2. And this is 4, which leaves us an absolute difference of 2. And again, if it's in the set, just go ahead and remove it, in which it is. And then start doing the process one more time until you reach that I minus 1 location. So again, I'll just increment I by 1. So this is I now. This is I plus 1. And then we can take the difference between 3 and 2. Absolute value of 3 minus 2 is 1. And then remove it from the set. And then finally, once you reach the end of this array, like when your for loop's done running or while loop or whatever type of loop or iteration you want to do is done, just check if the set.length is equal to 0. Because if equal to 0, you know that you've removed everything from the set and you're okay. And then if it's not, then obviously it's not a Jolly Jumper, so you just say it's not a Jolly Jumper. And that's pretty much how you solve it by paper. Again, loop over your set, or loop over from 1 to n to create your set, then loop over your list, and then keep taking the difference and absolute value of it, remove it from the set, and then when you reach the end of your list, check if the set is equal to 0. So let's go ahead and implement this in JavaScript. All right, so starting off, the first thing we're going to do is just define a function called isJollyJumper. And that's going to take a parameter of numbers, which is just going to be an array or list of numbers. And then down here, I'll just go ahead and call isJollyJumper with our array of 1, 4, 3, and 2. Let me just double check that that is the right example input that we worked out. It's 1, 4, 2, and 3. Cool. So then to actually start implementing our function, remember that the very last thing we checked, I like to do things backwards, so I like to set, the thing that we're going to return and then return it before I actually start working at the logic. So I work backwards into the implementation. So again, we talked about we just need to return if the set length is equal to 0. And if it is, then it is a Jolly Jumper. So first I'll declare a set and make it equal to the empty array. And then I'll return set.length is equal to 0. Which again, if 0, true, otherwise false. So that should make sense. And now the first part of the solution was we need to create that set of integers from 1 to n minus 1. So we know what n is, so we can say const n is equal to numbers dot length. So we can loop through, so let I is equal to 1, I is less than or equal to n minus 1, I plus plus, loop through from 1 to n minus 1, and then just go ahead and push that number into the set. So it's going to push 1, 2, and 3 into the set in this example. And I can just go ahead and print out set here so we can visualize that on line 9. So it pushes 1, 2, and 3, and then we're good to go. And then the next step of the algorithm, remember, is we need to loop through the numbers, take the absolute difference between the numbers, and remove them one by one from the set if we found something. So I'll go ahead and just do another loop. So for let I equals 0, I is less than the numbers dot length minus 1. And remember, we don't want to go out of bounds because we're going to check I, and we're also going to check I plus 1. So we need to make sure numbers dot length minus 1 is our condition so that we don't go out of bounds on the array. So then in this loop, we can say const A is equal to numbers of I, const B is equal to numbers of I plus 1. I'll just go ahead and print out A and B here so we can kind of visualize what's going on. So again, in the first iteration, A is 1, B is 4. I can say const diff is equal to math of absolute value of A minus B. Print that out. So we get 3, 2, 1. So again, take a step back. We get the first number, we get the second number, we take the difference, and we take the math of the absolute value of that difference. And now we just need to remove it from the set if it exists in the set. So I can say if set.index of diff is not equal to negative 1, so it does exist in the set, I can just say set.splice set.index of diff, and then remove that one element from the array. And if you're not familiar with line 19, that's pretty much how you, given an array, remove a particular number from that array. So now at this point, I can just go ahead and print out set again, and we see that it removes a 3, it removes a 2, and it removes the 1. So this is going to return true for us down here. So let's go ahead and remove all these little annotations and console logs so we have a clean function to look at. So that should make sense. And then when we remove, let's say, the 3, this should be false, right? Because 1 minus 4 gives us 3, and then 4 minus 2 gives us 2. But we're really looking for 1 and 2. And I'll just go ahead and, again, write that out. So I can say, what is the value of set here? And at the end, so the first iteration, we get a 3. It tries to remove 3 from the set, but that doesn't exist. Because remember, we're looping from 1 to n minus 1, and n is equal to 3 in this case. So up here, if I were to print out set, the set is 1 and 2, but we get 3 and 2, which means that this is not a Jelly Jumper set. Yeah, so that wraps up the whole Jelly Jumper number, I think it's 311 challenge. There's probably some better ways to do this. Maybe there's like a reduce function you can use for creating this, or just more concise code. But this is my first implementation, so this is basically how you do it off the top of my head. Again, if you like this video, give us a like, and then be sure to subscribe to freeCodeCamp below. All right, thanks for watching.